Kyle Gilbert. I hope you're doing well. And tonight I'm going to be talking about what network marketers fear the most. You mean they fear things? Absolutely they do. And for those of you that do not know me, I've been involved in network marketing now for 40 years. I share a lot of what I've learned in my journey on these live calls. I started in this business totally broke, sold a junk truck to get started, put $200 into my business. The last now almost 28 years now, I've been full-time in network marketing. The reality is we all have fears. We've all had fears. And the kind of fears that you're facing may be fears that I've already gone through, and I dealt with those demons and chased them away. And then sometimes we have others that reappear. And Alexis, is that your fear, what you're posting right now? It's okay, you can post that. When I did that just out of curiosity, and so just out of curiosity, let me find it here. And I asked that very question, and I had several people type in their fears, okay? And so, let me see, Gabriella Daughtry in San Diego, California, said her worst fear was that my MLM company will close down or sell to another company and change the pay plan. Okay. All right. Of course, I'm familiar with her company. It's been around for over 20 years. I don't see that it's going to close down. They seem to be doing okay. Again, some of these can be just, well, we'll talk about it in a minute, okay? Let's see. Marie says some fear auto ship. Oh boy, I tell you what, it's very hard to build a business without auto ship. I remember back in 20 some years ago that when I was getting going in my last company, and some other people thought they were in such a great company, and our company did auto ship. And when December came, the holidays came, their company that didn't have auto ship didn't have any volume. It was bad. So let me tell you something. Be glad you have auto ship. That should never be, repurchasing should never be a fear. That'd be the fear should be that they never repurchase, right? AJ says, my company going out of business. Oh, okay. Oh, I forgot what company AJ is in, but I remember it being a credible company. Again, if your numbers are not very high and they continue to decline, then that would be an appropriate fear. Okay. Um, let me see. And then we have from South Carolina, South Korea, from Tagwo, South Korea, Miss Lee. Is it to maintain harmonious relationships? Oh, okay. So maintaining harmonious relationships. Yeah, she has a fear of that. Okay, all right. Those are good things, and maybe I could come back to that. You know, the thing about it is, here's what I want everybody to understand, and that is fear can be an ally. Fear can be an ally. Let me illustrate it. For example, coronavirus, right? Okay. What if somebody didn't have a fear of the coronavirus, okay? I'm not afraid. I take my jungle juice, I drink it every day. It feeds my immune system. I mean, I'm invincible to that virus. And so then they have no fear, and they go right out and they get around to go into the hospital and just expose themselves and things like that to people who have it. I even had somebody told me that it's true, and he's a health coach, and he said, I hope I do get it. Okay. Fear would be very helpful for a person like that. Because getting it is not a good thing, okay? It is not a good thing. I mean, if you doubt that, then look at the kill percentages of it, okay? Yeah, it's worth paying attention to those numbers. Here's the thing: fear can be a great motivator. That's what we need to understand. Fear can be a great motivator. Fear is not bad in itself. It's not bad in itself. What makes it bad is when it paralyzes you and you don't take action. So if it paralyzes you to the point that you never take action, then that's a bad fear. So then we have to understand this, and please pay attention to this, that when it comes to fear, you have to feed it for it to paralyze you. You have to feed it for it to motivate you. So the fear we need to feed is never taking action and living a life of mediocrity and pain. And because of that, we take action. The fear that we need to feed is that very fear. The fear of never taking action and living a life of ultimate pain. Feed that fear. See, that was the fear that drove me. The fear of failure, for example. I had a great fear of failure. And what's ironic is later I had a fear of success. True. When I became too successful and I wasn't comfortable with it. When I was growing my team and it was growing so big, I just didn't feel worthy of it. Because keep in mind, my background was I mopped floors at night. I had a janitorial business, right? Whew. I'm making more money than some of the top people in Fortune 500 companies, right? I'm doing pretty good. I had a conference problem with that in my head. And so I became very apologetic about my success, playing down my success. When somebody say, wow, man, I want to be just like you. And I always hated hearing that. I'm like, man, if you only knew, if you only understood what that meant. It's really funny because that's the thing. See, my original fear after having no money, being broke, everything, going into a grocery store, for example, with my 2-year-old son, Micah, who's now 33, right? My 2-year-old son at that time, going into a grocery store with him, because I was divorced at the time, and so I got my children that weekend, and so he was with me, and I thought, I'm going to get what I need, and And previous, I bounced a check, but I made it right, paid him back. But here I was going in with Micah to that store, and I got some groceries. I was going to feel good about the weekend, going to be with my children, be a good father. And then when I was going out, just leaving that cashier, pushing that cart to head out to the car, the manager comes up and stops my cart, and he says, "You're not going anywhere with those groceries." Now, you want to talk about massive pain, embarrassment, feeling like a loser? That was me. And I had to leave that grocery store with nothing. So what drove me, the fear that drove me was massive pain. I hated my life. I hated it. Deeply hated it. Deeply hated it so that I would do anything, pay the price, whatever it took. And if that meant, working, 18, 19 hours a day, I don't care. If it meant traveling and just and doing without and whatever it took, I just wanted to get out of that situation. I wanted my circumstances to change. So fear of failure was a major, major, major motivator for me. That is a good fear to feed. If you have a fear of failure, good. Be glad for it. Be happy for it. See, knock me over with that kind of fear. Because I don't want a fear that's going to paralyze me taking action. I want a fear that's going to motivate me. But like I said, ironically, later what happened was, hey, Dawn, nice to see you. Ironically, later on, what happened was that my success got much bigger than what I would have ever imagined. You have to understand, I got into network marketing to make $5,000 a month. That was my goal. I wasn't really looking for anything beyond that. And so when it grew and grew, I became the accidental leader. The accidental leader. That is, I got myself into network marketing to fix a problem, and that was, I wanted money coming in, and I just, basically just pay the bills and have a nice life. That was it. I never imagined it becoming a huge business. And so the accidental leader feels just like that. Like, this is an accident, man. I wasn't really planning on this. And so therefore I start feeling like I'm just what's the word? I'm just in the wrong spot. Wrong guy, right? Wrong guy. And then there's this pressure too that when my income increases, then I'm start thinking, well, then the company's going to expect more, more from me, or the company's going to expect someone else. Like, I am what I am, okay? And I want to be me. I don't want to be someone else. But see, they weren't asking that. The company was never asking that. This is my fear that's creating all this false scenarios in my head that I'm just, sitting in a chair and I'm watching, and it's like being in a movie theater and you're watching a horror flick, right? Oh my God, I can think about even some of my earlier fears, like public speaking. That was one of them too. It's like accidental leader. I'm an accidental leader. All I did was like a product, shared it with some people, and I had a downline all of a sudden. And then they hand me the pen and say, "Okay, you lead. You do the presentation." I remember at one of the early conventions, my sponsor said, "Okay, so you're going to go up and speak." And there were, I don't know, about 2,000 people at that event back then. And I said, I don't know. He said, "Yeah, just go up and share your story, and you're up next." And there were a lot of Spanish at that event too. And I said, why don't you go with me because you understand Spanish and you can translate. I was so scared to get up on the stage. I wanted my sponsor to go out there with me, but I was so embarrassed to say that very thing. Will you please go up on stage with me? And he said, no, you'll be fine. You don't need a translator. I said, I think I do need a translator. You don't need a translator. Well, then just fine then. I'll go. Scared to death. Scared to death to go up on stage and talk. But that was the thing. And here's what I found out. What I did to overcome that fear is just take action. That's all you do. If you want to have a breakthrough in your business, whatever fear you have, just take action. Just do it. Screw it, do it. Screw it, do it. I remember when I first went zip lining with my wife, Michelle. So I'm not experienced in zip lining. I never thought about it much and never been exposed to it, right? So it's a new experience for me at the time. So we go up on this tower, this really, really tall tower. And she puts the gear on. I put the gear on. I'm not really paying attention. And then I look, and I'm looking down. And in the, far off, there's this barn. You zip line right into the barn, through the barn, and keep going. And she didn't even think about it, and she just jumped. And I looked, and all of a sudden, fear consumed me. And I was like, oh my God, what just happened? She just did it. And then there were people behind me, and I felt this immediate pressure. I didn't want to go. Matter of fact, I wanted to get out of the gear and say, I think this isn't for me. I really think I'm okay, to stay right here, And I thought, screw it, do it. And I just jumped. That's really how we get through a lot of our fears. The very thing that we are afraid of, we do. For example, Facebook Lives. I don't know if you ever did a Facebook Live. I got a good friend. He's been in network marketing 3 decades. Love him to death. He can get right out on a stage and talk to 10,000 people, no problema. No, he told me, he said, Jeff, I have no problem, because he was talking to me about my lives. He said, and he was over at my house staying a weekend with me. And anyway, but he just said, Jeff, I got no problem getting in front of 10,000 people and talking on stage. I'm perfectly comfortable. But when I do a Facebook Live, I freeze. He says, I just freeze. And I laughed. I said, really? You killing me, right? You're joking, right? No. I said, man, it's just a piece of plastic. All you do is hit the on button. I said, it's like when I went on a stage. When I was on stage and, and I'm talking to 10,000 people, the lights are bright and all. It just looks like a cabbage field to me. Just a bunch of little cabbages out there, Looks like a farm field to me. Never did bother me. I said, just turn on the plastic, hit the on button, man, and then ignore what's happening out there until you get comfortable with it, and you'll be fine. But he had a real problem with that, right? A real problem with that. So it was just comical just to talk to him about that. But what are some of the other things too that I think that I was afraid of? Again, I was afraid of in the beginning. I would fail. So therefore, that's what drove me. And really, as I mentioned, I said fear is a powerful motivator, and it's your ally in that sense. Later, it was if I became too successful. That is not a powerful ally. Matter of fact, that's an enemy. That kind of fear. I would remember I would start, when people would come up and praise me or say something good about me, even on stage, I would apologize. I would say, oh yeah, well, I'm successful. Well, yeah, it's because I got good people in my downline. And so I was excusing myself from that. You know, I'm not good, but they're good. After a while of doing that a few times in, you know, in different situations, I finally realized what I was doing. And I finally realized that that fear was not serving me. And I had to confront that fear and say, you know what? I am good and I do deserve that pin and I am a leader. That's something I want you to get good at doing. If you have to write out affirmations and post it on your mirror, look at the mirror and say, man, aren't you awesome? You are a leader. You deserve this. I want you to do that. I really do. If you're having a problem with that. Because the fact of the matter is you do. The fact of the matter is I do deserve my success. How did all those leaders get in the company? They got in because I took action. That's a fact. That's a fact. Now, did I do it all? Of course not. The point is that it happened because I took action. And I helped a lot of people. I know my history. I know what I did. Everyone knows my history that knows me. So the thing about it is, you know, just understand you do need to praise yourself. That's not egotistical. That's healthy esteem activity. There's nothing wrong with that. Just don't, you know, don't get an ego about it, right? Stay humble. But at the same time, putting yourself down is not going to serve you. Feeding that fear that you're not deserving of your success is not going to serve you. It's going to hurt you. And now I realize that's what I was doing to myself. And I thought, wow. And I really didn't realize I was doing it to myself. I really didn't until it was pointed out to me. You know, that, hey, man, you need to accept praise. You have a problem accepting praise. So that was one thing that I guess was one of my challenges. You know, I guess, you know, again, public speaking, I didn't, public speaking just, I don't know, it nauseated me. Very nervous when I go. Now I can walk out on stage and I feel like, you know, I'm at home. Like I'm at home. The other is the fear of not being able to answer a question. How many of you ever go through that? You're always afraid that what if they ask a question and I don't know the answer? The answer to that fear is tell them you don't know. I remember telling someone the other day, they asked me a question. I said, I don't know the answer to that question, but I will find the answer to that question. And that's the best way to handle it. You don't have to be the expert. And I find that when you don't try to be the expert, so much pressure is going to come off your shoulders when you do that. You don't have to be paralyzed by that fear that you're supposed to be the know-it-all, that you're supposed to be the expert. In fact, I prefer the Forrest Gump approach. You know, in other words, I'm not going to play myself up where I'm the expert. I don't want people to think and feel, because then they're going to ask me something that I don't know, and I know that's going to happen. And because I'm the expert, I've got to have the answer. No, I'll just defer it and say, you know what? I think I'm going to have to get you that, but I'll get it to you as fast as I can. So, again, just understand, fear can serve you, and at the same time, it can become your biggest enemy. And the best way to have breakthroughs is just do it. Just do it. And when you do it, then you find out it was not that big of a deal. Not that big of a deal. I remember even in school, it used to be that way with me. I never wanted to get into fights, you know. Never did want to get into fights. But there was always bullies. Always bullies. And so I said, you know what? I'm not going to let a bully me. If he comes up to me, I'm going to start swinging. So I ended up in the principal's office on a fairly regular basis. And in fact, I remember one time he called the teacher in my classroom and said, send Jeff down to my office. And I didn't do anything. And I went in there and I said, what did I do? He said, that's just it. You haven't done anything lately. Is everything okay? And man, you have to understand, he had a board to whack with, I mean, to paddle you with. And you did not want to get hit by his board. It had holes in it, you know. Ultimate pain. I mean, it was ultimate pain. But that's the way I remember one time a guy came up to me. I didn't even know who this guy was. Walked up to me in the hallway. He just came up and he just went, you know. And I just dropped my books and started swinging because I knew what that meant. He wanted to challenge me. And I thought, you're not running me over. This is how I get rid of you. This is how I deal with you. This is how I have a breakthrough, okay? You're not going to control me. Well, anyway, those were interesting years. But I'm just saying, though, that's the way you're going to have to approach all of your fears, is just do it. And then understand, visualize a life that you don't want, which is probably why you got into network marketing anyway, right? You either didn't like the life you were presently living, or you didn't like the ultimate destination of where you're going to arrive in your life if you don't take action in network marketing, right? And so, and this is what I've said this before, what motivates people are not so much the mansions, the Ferraris, it's the fear. It's the fear of, I'm going to end up like that. And nothing wrong with focusing on that, because that's what I did. I had massive focus on that. And that's what changed everything for me. Tony Robbins talks about that, how we're moved by pain or pleasure. And that's what drives all human behavior. Well, in my case, it was pain, massive pain. Going into the grocery store, having my carts, confiscated, and didn't have any food. Massive pain. And then I made a strong resolve. And I was hungry. When you have hungry, you can go through steel. You have hungry, you can get anything done. You have hunger, and you're hungry enough, you'll almost have an instant downline. Because why? Because at that very moment you're stepping up and you're a leader. And that's another thing too. I think John from Baltimore, was that what you said? I think he said that. I lost it, but he said the fear of being a leader. Most leaders have fear. Nothing wrong with fear. It's the not taking action we need to be afraid of. That's the thing. And so it's just a matter of showing up. So here's the thing. I want all of you to do is identify that very thing that you're fearful of, and then challenge it. Challenge it. Just like I said, if you don't think you're deserving of greatness, if you don't think you're deserving of a better future, get in front of the mirror and write in these post-it notes, I am deserving of this future. I am a leader. I am going to the next rank. We have to create that posture, that mental posture, if we're going to change our life. But just use fear as an ally, not as an enemy. Use it to empower you, not to paralyze you. And then just visualize a life that you don't want. Visualize it so much that you feel it, that you take that action, and you'll start having one breakthrough after another breakthrough after another breakthrough. And yes, you'll have some other things that will come around. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say, I'm going to go ahead and look at that now and see if there's a couple of these I can answer since we are here. And that is, let's see, there we go. So, yeah. And then John said, being a leader. That's right. Again, John, focus on why you got into network marketing. it probably had something to do with a life you did not want. And that would be ultimate pain. What does ultimate pain feel like to you? What does a life feel that, see, 20 years from now, you can't change it. You're there. Today, you can. Today, you can take action and say, you know what? I'm going to be a leader because I am a leader. And you get where you start saying those affirmations every day before you go to bed, when you wake up in the morning, standing in front of the mirror, you know, and then just say those affirmations. It'll have a different impact on you. And then, Miss Lee, is it, you know, to maintain harmonious relationships? You know, we are in the business of people. And so, yeah, we always need to work on our relationships. So that's all. Just like anything, work on it. Bren Coronado says, starting again. Whoo! Hey, Bren, let me tell you something. As much as you hate to hear this, if you had to start again, it's probably the best thing that ever happened to you. Because that happened to me. When I lost my business and I went bankrupt, I thought it was the worst thing in the world that ever happened to me. Because I had no money coming in, and I was used to that for 13 years. And then came network marketing. The greatest thing that ever happened to me, made more money, started traveling all over the U.S. and Canada, doing meetings and meeting fantastic people, having a blast. Oh, man, I love those early years. I really do love those early years. But after being in that company 6 years, guess what? Yes, we were sold. New owners came in, ruined everything. And they changed the compensation plan. And so I knew, I thought at that time, I said, man, can't believe it. I can't believe it. Here I got my dream house and everything in place and all is good. And now this, and everything's going south on us now. It's the worst thing that could ever happen to me. And Tony Robbins says, when the worst thing that could ever happen to you happens, ask yourself this question: what's good about it? And the first thing you're going to think of, nothing. There ain't nothing good about this. I get that. But find something that's good. And I'm just saying, I can remember painting that old house, was built in 1860, and I'm painting it, and I'm thinking, I hate network marketing. All these owners are dogs. They always ruin it. And I remember that. But you know what? What I didn't realize, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. But but I want you to understand something. I'm sort of including that was something I left out. Without that company knowing about it, I went and joined a Canadian company and got my income up really good in that very quick. Again, what am I motivated by? The fear of a life I hate. Okay. So I got my income up going in that other company, and I thought, I just hope this lasts because, I need a break, man. 6 months later, that company announced compensation plan changes. Totally destroyed everything. Does that mean all companies are bad? No. Does this happen to all companies? No. It doesn't. It happens. You just got to get good at picking them, right? And that was part of my problem too, but that first one that was a success run was a good company at that time. Things happen in life. They happen in traditional business, right? Look at Toys R Us. Where is it today? Kmart. Where is it today? Sears. Where is it today? All right, you get my point. But after that company fell apart, then I joined my last company 21 years ago, and I went into that company kicking, scratching, fighting. I was resistant to going in to another company because all these companies are dogs and the owners ruin it. And I kept painting that old house thinking that. The guys are calling me every day. Hey man, you ready to get started? You ready to get started? Yeah, well, I'm painting my house. Well, how long are you going to be doing that? It's a big house. I hate network marketing. All these owners are dogs. And then, yes, I finally put down my paintbrush because he called me up right before New Year's, the day before New Year's, and said, Jeff, are you ready to get started? I said, look, it's like this. I'm going to go out tonight, it's New Year's, and I'm going to drink and I'm going to think. And tomorrow I'll put down my paintbrush and I'll begin. And when I did, the next day, I did just that. I remember walking up the steps to my room, closing my door and sitting down, looking at the phone, looking at a list. I don't have one person in my downline. And I'm thinking, oh God, I'm crazy. I need your help because I think I need a therapist. I need a psychiatrist. I can't believe I'm doing this again. Let me tell you, Bren Coronado, that was the best thing that ever happened, was losing those two previous companies. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. When we think it's the worst, I promise you, it'll be the best. So don't worry about that. Don't have that fear. And then, and then let's see, and then Alfonso said, I would say failing. Well, good. But I'm not going to do that. Sure. But you know what? The fear of failure is a powerful ally. And in my case, I can tell you it worked well for me. I'm not saying doubt yourself. I'm just saying it's okay to be nervous at times. And and then here from Jason, my friend Jason Shalkowski, he says, not being able to step into each new rank leadership role for growth and maintain success. Okay. Hey man, throw yourself into it. Don't worry about it. See how far you can run with it. Run with it like a tiger is on your butt and keep running. Don't look back. Just look straight ahead. And you'll burn through those ranks. It won't be a hard thing about maintaining. It won't be. Your commitment to your people is how you maintain your rank. Teaching them how to be committed to their people helps them maintain their ranks. I maintain my rank. I've been doing it for I don't know how many years. It's been so long. It's been so long. That's all I can tell you. And so I'm just saying, my friend, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that the next rank is going to be so difficult. It's not. It's focus on what's below you. And here's my advice to you. Don't worry about that next position. Here's what you need to do. Find that first leadership position in your compensation plan. Each of you should know what that is. Whatever you consider that. Now, 100 points or $100 is not a leadership position, okay? We're talking about something that's at least a few $1,000s, okay? 2,000 or 3,000, let's say, or maybe 3,000 life points, if you want to call it that, or 3,000 points. I mean, everybody's got, or some call it PV. It's different terminologies, right? But whatever that first leadership position is, that's the position you focus on. You say, well, wait a second, I'm 2 positions above that, Jeff. Yeah, but if you want to get to your next rank, your first leadership position is what you focus on. And here's what I mean by that. You're going to help as many people as you can and teach your leaders to do that too, to help the people that have not attained to that first leadership position, get there. And if you do, you will organically move up. It's like what John F. Kennedy said. He said, when the tide comes in, all ships rise. When the tide comes in, all ships rise. So that's how you get the tide to come in, is that first leadership position. You help people that are not at that position get to that position. That organically pushes everybody up. That's how you get to that next rank. If you want to get to the following next rank, create more of that. Create more. As many of those, that first position as you can create massively, and help people get there and show them that is the most important position in your compensation plan. Once they get that in their head and they focus on helping people get to that first position, all ships rise, all leaders rise. That's how it works. Everybody's looking up, need to look down. That's what we need to do. So don't worry about it, my friend. And don't worry about maintaining it. As long as your culture is about helping people to grow, then you're going to get there. So maybe some of these thoughts were helpful. And anyway, nice connecting with you. Tomorrow night I won't do a live, but I'll put out something tomorrow. And then on Friday I will. So I'll be trying to answer your questions, good questions you asked. Some of you guys asked some really, some incredible questions. So I look forward to connecting with you then. So nice that so many joined me tonight. If you got value out of this and you think it'd be helpful to your downline, share it. If you haven't read my book, hang on. My book, Reaching the Peak. This is the backwards version. You can get it on Amazon. Reaching the Peak. It's coming out in Spanish. And so I just talked to my publisher today. And so, I had an interesting thing. I ran this by 3 or 4 people who are Spanish, right? And good at it, of course. But it's interesting how they have different kinds of Spanish. And I'm like, different kinds of Spanish? We don't do that in the U.S. We got one English, Anyway, so finding the very, very most accurate word for my English word was a little challenging at times, but I'm so glad that happened. I really am. I'm so, for example, I talk about the Smoky Mountains in my book, and one translator had it, the Steaming Mountains. Another Spanish person was reading what they translated. They said, steaming mountains? I thought you said you lived in the Smoky Mountains. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Okay. Anyway, and George just posted the link if you don't have it. But anyway, thanks for getting on. I'll see you Friday. Come up with some good questions when I post Friday morning and say, hey, you got any questions for tonight you like to talk about? And again, so fear is good and fear is bad. If it's a motivator, if it empowers you, it's an ally. If it paralyzes you, it's your enemy. So just learn how to use it, okay? And have those breakthroughs by doing what? Simply taking action. Screw it and do it, okay? All right, talk to you soon.